and Monte Carlo and in Grand Cayman and in the Cook Islands and in your airstrips in New Zealand where you're already running to, because let me tell you, you are never going to get away with what you've done. We're calling you all out right now ahead of time. So just understand, you are lit up. You got light on you. Everybody knows who you are, and you go ahead and play your hand. You go ahead and try it. I mean, really, I'm just a citizen cop here with a bullhorn telling the criminals with the hostages inside, you're never getting out of here. You're never getting away with it. Yeah, you're going to be going to prison, but it's a lot better than what you're going to get if you hurt those hostages. Now, you just think that through. And that's all I'm doing right here. I'm just bullhorning right at you going, we see you, we know who you are, we know your tricks, we know everything about you. We've been watching you for a long time. And all I am is just one little place where this liberty movement emerges above the waves. Under the waves, wolf packs of patriots loaded for InfoWar and for everything else. Ready. Let's go to Captain America. No, Donald's first. Donald, Minnesota, thanks for holding. You're a trooper. Go ahead.
Alex, I pray for you every single day, especially to the Holy Spirit.
Thank you. I need it.
Oh, boy, so we all need it. Are you aware that when the border was finalized between Mexico and America, that Mexico offered to cede the mouth of the Colorado and that finger of territory called Bahia of California? Are you aware of that?
I did know that there was some negotiations for that area, yes.
Yeah, well, you see, if you look at the map and you understand that the Rio Grande is a very poor border, and if we wanted to, we could easily annex that territory that today would be worth billions. The mouth of Colorado would be worth billions. And we allowed them to have that to ensure that they would I'm sure would secure the borders for us on their side of the maybe you could look up the entire treaty. Now, before I go, did you hear about the big operation at the Mayo Clinic today?
No, I didn't. What happened?
Doctors cut off a man's left side. He's all right now. Thank you for taking my call, Alex.
I didn't even get that joke at first. Thank you for the call. Let's talk to Captain America. Go ahead. You're on the air. Welcome.
Yes, Alex. Glad to talk to you. It's been a while. I have a couple things I want to talk about today. And one thing is my friend Adam Kokesh is going to be at Brave New Books tonight to talk about his thing. And I got a hold of Joe Biggs and let him know. And I was hoping he could come down and interview Mr. Kokesh about maybe Jade Helm, his thoughts on it, and so on. And also, I wanted to ask you if you had read the book, The Red Amendment. Have you heard about it and the Texas National Movement?
I'm aware of the Texas National Movement. I know that Texas could secede, but that would need to be done on the legislature or by a referendum of the state, not by people meeting in East Texas or South Texas or wherever and announcing that they've elected themselves the presidents or whatever. And, you know, because a guy's got a bass boat, he's an admiral. And because a guy's got a tractor, he's an army commander. That was done pretty much by the establishment, giving them attention in the 90s and lately to discredit the real secession movement. And I don't particularly want a secession movement. I'd like to have my republic back. But if the republic is captured, the entire country, then Texas could pull out to reform the United States with hopes to work with other states to reconstitute the republic. And so I am for emergency secession, but only because the United States no longer exists. We're under a new corporate body, the North American Union, part of the Trilateral World Government Program.
What this book, I've been reading it, and what this book is about is mostly exposing the myths about the amendments, especially the 14th Amendment, how it has stripped us of our rights. Because we have the Bill of Rights, and then after the Civil War, they wanted to do what they called Reconstruction, but what it was an invasion of troops to take over the South. And then the 14th Amendment actually stripped the rights of all Americans, black, white, whatever, so that we are now servants and slaves of the United States government.
Yes, and that's why they killed Lincoln, because Lincoln wasn't going to go along with that. He wasn't going to go along with Reconstruction being violent. And so they executed him and then engaged in a decade-long looting operation of the South. And that's absolutely true. It's similar to what happened to Germany during the whole Versailles Treaty. It's similar to what the West did to China when they controlled it for a long period of time, over a century ago. So good to hear from you, Captain America. Appreciate that call. I want to go to Chris and Bubbles and Dave and Steve and many others that are holding. But first, let me get to that report I was talking about earlier. Now, everybody knows, I mean, it's even on the mainstream news. Even Senator Cruz talked about it. Even Rand Paul talked about it, that we shouldn't aid al-Qaeda in Syria, that most of the rebel fighters are al-Qaeda, that we shouldn't be their air force. Everybody pretty much remembers that from 2 years ago. So the Council on Foreign Relations and others were very upset and said, we've got a problem. The fact that we're working with Saudi Arabia and NATO to take over the Middle East using these jihadis is coming out. The military is very upset because, after all, this is al-Qaeda. So they changed the name to ISIS last year and a half and had them resupply by invading Iraq, and now they're back in Syria taking the country over again. Now that Russia's busy fighting in Ukraine instead of backing up Syria. It's a proxy war against Russia. That's part of it. But I was watching at about 8:45 this morning, Fox News, as I said, and they had a report about Obama is telling us and the media not to show ISIS vehicles, armored vehicles and stuff, because now they don't have those. They've been greatly defeated, and they don't go around in convoys anymore, which, by the way, isn't true. But you don't have the president telling media what to show. Just like you don't have the president's wife telling school kids what to eat with their lunches. But then I was sitting there watching it, and I went, that's not what this is. They don't like the fact that it was Toyota trucks from the U.S. that were U.S. Special Forces. It's the exact trucks, the way they're designed and augmented in the U.S. It's MRAP armored vehicles. And it is armored Humvees, the types that got sent in later when folks complained about them not having enough armor. And then here's this headline, military.com, from last year, Pentagon to send 250 MRAPs back to Iraq to fight ISIS. But the Iraqi government has come out, including the president last month, and said, no, they're delivering these to ISIS. I was watching at the start of the news piece when they said we're going to come back, actually, before the news piece, and it showed the MRAPs and stuff. I mean, that's how dumb they think we are, is that they're showing us all this in our face. Let's go ahead and go to part of that Fox News piece.
So meanwhile, as ISIS gains new ground, we're talking about the pressing that they're doing on Ramadi right now, the Obama administration is pressing a point of its own about optics. It is reportedly asking television networks to stop airing this video that you see, that you've seen quite a bit, admittedly. They say this is the old picture of the way that ISIS was moving in convoys in broad daylight. They say these pictures are misleading. Instead, they want us to air pictures of U.S. trainers, of Iraqi soldiers, and also what they say is closer to the way that ISIS now travels, quote, One Toyota speeding down the road by itself at night with the headlights off.
Okay, let's just stop for a minute.
Two narratives here. You know,
I didn't go review that beforehand, so it's my fault. I'm going to tell the crew something about the DVR back there. That's not the clip. The clip is before they go to break. To come back with the piece you just talked about, they show the big MRAPs. It's 10 seconds long. Now, that did show the armored Humvee and some of that stuff, but we'll get that clip, and I'm going to play it. Coming up. Now, before I go any further on this, now we're being told we're going to be attacked here domestically by these groups, when, again, they're the very groups empowered by the West, and who the West, from the U.S. to Germany, from England to Canada, allowed them to recruit inside the West to do this. So the word needs to be gotten out on this.
Communist.
Just briefly, we are funded by the high-quality products, mainly, that we sell, that and PrisonPlanet.tv memberships and some of our online sponsors. We really do have groundbreaking, powerful nutraceuticals, from high-quality colloidal silver to super male and super female vitality to Prostagard, what we believe is the strongest and best formula out there for the prostate, and more. We have 20% off super female and super male vitality going through until next week. We have 15 InfoWarsLife.com products now, and you've, again, heard the listeners, you've heard the rave reviews. Try them out for yourself and know you're also supporting the very tip of the spear in the fight for freedom. It's war bonds, ladies and gentlemen. And also, you hear a lot of talk about water filters out there. We carry, according to the different mainline labs that have tested it, the very best water filtration gravity-fed systems out there. Pro One, G2 systems, clearly filtered, and others at InfoWarsStore.com. And they're less than the major competitors that aren't as good. Or I would carry the other brands, folks. It's like the Seed Center. We've got 8 different high-quality, non-GMO, heirloom companies that are competitively priced. It's all about, health, all about quality, all about life, all about selling what we're into. It's real simple. And we've got 8 different brands there because they're all great. Well, not so with the water filters. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. See the side-by-side comparisons of the filters we sell versus other leading brands at InfoWarsStore.com. Coming up, I'm going to play the video. School orders student to remove offensive U.S. flag from truck. Remember, when I first started reporting on this about a decade ago, people thought I was lying. And I'd be reading NBC News out of San Francisco, and they'd go, "That's not true, Alex. You've gone too far. Kids are allowed to have American flags on their shirts." No, they're not. Federal judge just ruled a month ago, no, that's evil. Because they're getting rid of free speech selectively. Now, the schools have got free speech to teach your 6-year-old how to do stuff I can't mention on the radio. And you've got the free speech to sit down and shut up and worship world government. The truth is, it's all a bluff. We do still have free speech. There is no law to take vaccines. And if they pass one, I'm not following it. The line in the sand is being approached. I'll ask listeners what your line in the sand is. In fact, the next round of callers, what is your line in the sand? What is your line in the sand? 800-259-9231. You got 1 minute and 40 seconds. Chris in South Carolina, where they're banning American flags on kids' trucks. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I was calling about, for some reason, they're bringing in Syrian, they say they're refugees. On the thing it says 50% of them would be considered our Christian brothers and sisters, and I think that's a bullcrap number. And
yeah, I mean, you got to love it. Our government, I saw this in the news, finances the destruction of Syria and then brings in a bunch of jihadis, some of them are Christians, and says, "Oh, we got to protect them." Yeah, go ahead.
And then you, at the same time, in the same county that you were talking about with this flag, they have this place called Islamville, and only Islams can live there.
Yep. All over the country, there are Muslim-only communities, but you don't see any lawsuits, though, or any groups going after them. But if a Christian community tries to form, or you say, "I'm only going to sell my house to a Christian," or "this church only hires Christians," and you don't want to hire a Church of Satan person, I'm not kidding. then you are sued. Because Christian